along those lines. Understand that? Okay. What's your number one source of business? Referrals. Yeah. Any solid business. That is the number one source of business. The only thing I saw when I saw this business plan was a perpetual referral fee. And all I did was take the most elementary principle that allowed us to corner a real estate market in 2 years. When I moved to Charlotte, I knew one person, and it was the guy I bought my race car from. He set it up. He was the crew chief. His name was Clay Hare. And we cornered the real estate market in less than 2 years. Not because I'm smarter than anybody else. I could not afford to work stupid. I had to work smart. All I did was take the most elementary principle that all of you said was the backbone of your business, make it applicable here. And when I bring someone into the business, I work right through them. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You only need 2 bird dogs in your business. Pointers and retrievers. Everybody's looking for retrievers. Guys, just because you think somebody's a retriever doesn't mean they are. Here's what a retriever is. A retriever, I call them the mystical unicorns of FHTM. They're the stories you hear about. Yeah, the stories that make you nuts. Because those are the stories you hear people tell from the front of the room of, yeah, and then this guy named Sam came into our business. You know what Sam did? He made 3 phone calls and 18 people showed up. 16 of them signed up and went regional like in 4 hours. And then he'd go, oh, yeah, go Sam. Now, when Sam comes in your business, you're like, oh, Sam, I got Sam. See, you're all looking for those retrievers. Guys, pointers are everywhere. And you know what? Pointers are some of the best people in my business. Pointers are some of the best people in this company. See, a pointer can morph into a retriever. A pointer is somebody that says, you know what? All right, I'm doing this. Some of them don't last long. Some of them last forever. They point you to 2 or 3 people, to a person, to a person, to a person. Everybody I thought would run with this business, not one of them was worth a lick. The people that didn't say anything when they came in the business said, yeah, this is a neat idea. I got a couple people in mind right now. See, what I immediately started hearing people saying, my business was just stonewalled right at the beginning. But then I started hearing people when they'd sign up, yeah, I know people right now, whatever, and I never would ask them anything. If you see me, I don't care where it is. We're in Knoxville, we're in Florida, we're up in Virginia, whatever. I'm talking to somebody who's signing up. I know the only reason ink is going on paper is because in their head they have already thought of 10 people at a minimum. None of you would have signed up if you didn't think somebody was going to hitch their wagon to your train. Not one of you would have filled out an application if you didn't already have in mind people you were going to get on the phone. Why, when that process is going, are you not talking about who's in their head? I do it all the time. People don't. It's a Jedi mind trick. So, who are you thinking about? We're going to have fun working together. Who's already in your head? Who are you thinking about? Who are we going to take this to? Because I don't know if they're going to make it by the time they get home and not call rep support at 8:30 in the morning already chickening out. But you know what's really funny? If you were a guest of Cliff's, okay, Teresa comes into the business, Cliff is her sponsor. He might be in the business a week, a month, he might be a regional, he might be whatever. She's signing up and I see what's going on. I'm like, so Teresa, who are you thinking of? I want him, and I talk to him. I've done it to a couple of y'all. Y'all didn't even realize. I want him listening to everything that she says. Well, I'm thinking about, you know, Sam down at the barbershop, and I'm thinking about my hairdresser, or I'm thinking about so-and-so. Chances are Cliff is going to know who they are, know of them. They might be from the same town. And I'm like, you getting that? Do you know them too? Oh, this is going to be fun. We're all going to work together as a team. I have to get through to whoever's in her head before she chickens out. Or somebody steals this from her, and if we know some of the same people, sometimes we don't wait for her to make a phone call. We don't wait for her to show up the next day. We don't wait for her to not show up for training. We're going to get them on the phone. We're going to get them on the phone, see if they've got 20 minutes to look at something we've got our hands on. And you know what's really funny? When we make that call, if there seems to be a connection there, we've got mutual friends. I know you don't know me, but I was told you were somebody I need to know. When can we get together for 20 minutes? We've got our hands on something pretty neat. Do you know not one person has ever not enjoyed being complimented by a stranger? Especially when I set up the play, there was a warm relationship there. Here's what I did when I had people in my car selling homes. If they were looking at houses, they were talking to their friends about looking at houses. We'd be driving around. Half the time we showed people around stuff they didn't qualify for, they weren't going to buy, they were tire kickers, they were whatever, but while we were in the car, I'd find out 4 or 5 people that were also looking for homes, and don't you think for a minute I didn't call them. Because people weren't going to call a sign or an ad or hit me up on the internet. See, everybody that looks at the internet and they're in the home buying business think they're already an expert. The reason why they're looking at the internet is because they did not want to talk to me. I knew that. But I'd bait the hook with some pretty stuff because people like looking at beautiful things. That's why we went straight to the luxury market, because I could sell one home and make one commission that was the equivalent of an entire year's of another realtor's income. I could do it on one transaction. You jumped into that market. Who else do you know? Who are you working with? Who just got a big bonus at work? Help me help you. Wouldn't it be fun if you all kind of lived near each other, your kids went to the same school? That's how we broke into that market. But you know what was really fun? It was just good home training. That's all it was. See, y'all know how to do this. You just never made that applicable to this business. Let me share with you a couple of stories. Talked to a girl named Michelle, taking pictures of race cars at the racetrack. We were part-time in this business, not because we wanted to be, but because we were forced to be. We had huge obligations and we could not put the time we wanted to here, but we made the most of what we had. Michelle ended up talking to 2 people. I don't even remember what this person's name was, so we'll put X. But she put me on to Gina. Gina was absolutely really cool. She said, everybody loves Gina. She's sweet as pie. We go and we show it to Gina. Actually, I go and show it to Gina. I had an afternoon. I drove down to Inman, South Carolina. Clay was watching the kids. Everybody was manning the real estate business. I go down there, I talk to her. She says, this is great, this is neat. I can't do this. I can't talk to people. But my husband's fun. I wasn't leaving there without names. I wasn't leaving there without knowing somebody. I waited for JJ to come home. JJ saw the opportunity. JJ signed up in the business. JJ talked to 2 of his friends who ended up quitting on him, but not before we got to his mom and dad, John and Tootie. John and Tootie Beasley. John and Tootie, they said, we think this is really great. They drove up to Greenville. They actually saw Paul Orbison speak. That absolutely was the clincher. And they said, okay, we can only do this part-time, but we really see a way that we can do this. They talked to a couple of people here, here, and here. One of them was their son, Jesse. Jesse was a surveyor. He was moving back to Spartanburg. These people quit. Imagine that. Jesse comes into the business and says, I got a kid brother. My kid brother couldn't get the job he wanted with his college degree from South Carolina. He hates his life. He works 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, putting patio furniture together, but he's the manager. But he's in the back, bolting it together, and then has to man the store from sunup to sundown. It's called Palm Casual. It's in Holly Hill, Florida. I said, well, when can we talk to Aaron? He goes, if I try to get him on the phone, he is not, I'm just going to wait for him to come up and visit. We'll just get him over to a house. So here's what happened. In the meantime, John and Tootie went and talked to a gentleman, I remember meeting him in their living room, named Henry Brock. Henry Brock was a reverend. Henry Brock signed up in the business. What I did not know, I didn't see or talk to Henry Brock after that, because he was hit head on by a drunk driver and almost killed. He's now an executive sales manager in the business. But he didn't even show up for 5 more months because I didn't know that he was in rehab. Isn't that something? Yeah, but y'all are looking for retrievers. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's Jesse. Jesse goes. Aaron shows up. Aaron shows up and was the most obnoxious person that's ever been in the living room. We were at a school teacher's house that was also factored into this whole mix. She was having people over. She's no longer in the business. Aaron sat in the kitchen eating Oreo cookies and drinking Coke, and just his hair was just standing more on end. And, you know, and I'm presenting, and he's laughing, he's rolling his eyes, he's looking at his phone. I was not happy that he was there. And afterwards, some people are signing up, some people are having to talk to their dog about it, some people are having to do all that crap that you hear in a living room. Aaron's back like this, And I couldn't stand it anymore because I just said, so, what'd you like the most about what you just saw? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. But if it gets me out of selling furniture down at Palm Casual, I'm in. And he slapped his debit card on the kitchen counter before I put my hand on it, and I filled out the application for him. Where do you live? What's your driver's license number? I said, we're going to have fun with this. I said, I like your attitude. I was signing somebody up. I did not know what taking that action was going to do to our life. I didn't. Because we had managed to get to executive, but here's the crazy part. 63 business presentations got us to regional. My friends were too proud, too stupid, too smart, too pretty, too whatever. Some people thought it just smelled bad. Some people we showed it to, I cannot believe you would do something like that. They might as well have looked over their shoulder and spit. We kept going. Going executive. Todd remembers this. Clay and I are members of the Speedway Club. We invited our friends to the Speedway Club, and we had a meeting every single Wednesday without fail. Tuesdays, Threesies coming in. Do you know out of the 90 it took for us to go executive, 72 of them were ours? So what? I get people that don't work. My team's unmotivated. Don't talk to me about that. Don't. Whatever. Okay. All right. Do you think I care about that now? Do you think I care about the people that quit? No. I really feel bad for them. I do. I really do. I'm like, y'all are like laughing, oh, she's so funny. I'm like, no, y'all, I think it's sad. I mean, you know, but whatever. Okay. So now Aaron comes into the business. Aaron goes to all of his fraternity brothers, goes regional, just like that. He did. He sponsored his 3. You remember Scott Reynolds, those guys that would show up? We had Scott. Oh, we had a guy with a national championship ring. And it was something. And I even took pictures of it. Because I was like, shoot, I'd wear that all the time. I mean, it was covered in diamonds. It had a number 1 on it. I'll show it to you. It's on my phone. He came into the business, and these other guys, and he went regional, and these guys did this. One of their friends said that was stupid. It was a scheme. It was a scam. Like a 21-year-old kid wiped all of this out. But you know what? Aaron had promoted to regional. And I said, Aaron, you just learned the most valuable part of this business. You're still a regional. No one can ever take this away from you. All we got to do is just find one more. Let's go do it again. Now you're really going to get paid. It pumped him up enough. He said, all right. He goes, I got to meet some of my friends, blah, 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 blah. Well, he was down in Daytona and met a girl named Kirsten Freebus. Kirsten comes into the business. Kirsten has sponsored one person. Took her 3 weeks to do it, and it was her father, Dan Freebus. Now, in the meantime over here, Henry and Lynn are dealing with what they are. She doesn't know if she's going to have her husband back. The skull fracture that he suffered, they had to, do you know, they had to redo his entire ear, his face, his mouth. I mean, yeah, it was gnarly stuff. Well, then Henry comes back in the business and goes regional. Because Tootie said, what do I need to do? I said, you need to get to work right now with Lynn while he's dealing with what he is. And Tootie and Lynn went and took this to their friends, and they eked their way to regional. Okay? So they have their little things going on over here. Okay? Then they start sponsoring people. And they start putting people in the business. He's now an executive sales manager, and I went to Myrtle Beach every week for a year and built that up to there. And I'll tell you what, they're probably going to be getting their car before Thanksgiving. That is so cool. I love them. They were up here yesterday for that leadership event. So there's that. But let's talk about this down here. See, when I got the phone call from Dan, Dan was not excited that his daughter was in one of these things. Dan has spent his entire life looking at Schedule C tax returns because that's what he does. And he's never seen one person make any money in this business. He said, those things don't work. I sent you to school to learn something. Why are you doing this? Blah, 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 blah. Well, then he actually watched the DVD. I get a phone call. I need somebody to answer questions. So he goes and he asks Aaron. Aaron's like, don't look at me. Woodson did it. You need to talk to Woodson. Ah! You know, whatever. But here's what's so funny. Kirsten was the first person in Aaron's regional code. Kirsten sponsored Dan in her manager code, which meant this guy here was fully coded regional business. You just saw the babe on. Dan says, I do business the old-fashioned way, face-to-face. What you don't know is all the miles, all the dead ends, all the things that we did here and there. People quit. People didn't do it. So what? My job was to rip through this as fast as I could because I knew somebody would. I did not know it would end up in Florida. We drove 7 hours for a one-on-one with this guy because Aaron said, this guy's for real. It would be worth it. And I looked at Clay and I said, it's going to be worth it. Let's go. And so we went. Y'all have heard the story. Dan starts going, you know what? I can put people in my living room, in my conference room, whatever. Dan thought everybody in the world was going to come into the business on his credibility. His credibility was his greatest asset. He's an amazing leader in this business. What I didn't know is as I'm driving down to his living room on a Wednesday, had to be a Wednesday, I told Dan Wednesdays would work. You want to know why Wednesdays would work? It's because Monday I was chasing down all the showings from the weekend. Tuesday was MLS day. I had to be there. My name was on the line. Thursdays when buyers come in for out of town for a long weekend. Friday's game day. Saturday, I had to be at training, and then I showed property all night long and wrote contracts into the wee hours. Got them negotiated all through Sunday, so Monday morning I could put them on an attorney's desk. Wednesday was the day. The other thing y'all don't know is that the race rig rolled out Thursday morning at 6 a.m. like clockwork every single week. Clay had to qualify on Thursday, heat races on Friday, game day Saturday. Drive back all night so we could just have maybe a couple of hours as a family. This is before FHTM. And so, Wednesday it was. I'm driving down Dan's house. I'm all excited. I'm like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the guy. I couldn't tell Clay how scared I was. I couldn't tell Clay what I was doing. See, what Clay wasn't telling me was he was petrified. He now had 2 children in diapers. He was now the cook, the cleaning lady, the taxi cab, emergency repair for things that I didn't hear about until months after they happened. I'm talking like, well, that was when he bounced off the sofa and hit the floor because I was changing Carter in the other room. I'm like, oh, really? We were protecting each other. We were. So I went down to Dan's living room. I did not know until a year later that everybody bailed on Dan that night. Dan Freebus went to his neighbors and forced people to come over to his house because he said a woman was driving 7 hours and he was not going to let her down. I never knew that. That night in that living room, 5 people were there, 3 of them signed up. I drove back all night scared. I've never done anything like that before. Y'all think I wanted to do that when I signed up? You think that sounded like fun? No. You do what you got to do because, see, you've got to quit being emotional about this business. The only thing you have permission to be emotional about is your reason why you're doing it. As far as all this other crap, that is business. That is just business. You need to be fired up about your reason why. That's their deal. Because, okay, if you were selling widgets or gadgets somewhere, Todd said it best yesterday, and they were selling hot in one place and not in another, what are you going to do if that's your business? You're going to set up shop where people are buying. That doesn't make you mean. That doesn't make you whatever. That is business. So I had business 7 hours away. Go build in your backyard. I tried. I did. I still do to this day. But look at what it led me to. Taught me the best lesson ever. Well, this started to build. Well, here's what's so funny. Do you know in Dan's manager code, 6 levels down? Let me put Dan up here. Do you know 6 levels down in his manager code, a guy that didn't want to look at this business was named George Meyerhoff? In his manager code? Well, I figured this out real quick. I was trying to build other things going. See, Dan was now cranking. Dan was doing great. Dan was in Aaron's regional code. So when Dan went executive, all he had to do was find a couple more people to go regional, and he would go executive. Well, lo and behold, 6 layers down, George Meyerhoff showed up. That's when Aaron got a big lesson in business. I said, you and me are going to get to know the Meyerhoffs real well. I said, Aaron, here we go. That was how Aaron got groomed. We became George's best friend. George had credibility. Do you know all these people have quit? There's George. George is now an executive sales manager. Well, George went regional and signed up 2 or 3 more people, and bam, Aaron goes executive. But you know what's really funny? It's all in the same 7-hour drive for one guy. I had to build a fire in the basement of where I was because that was the only way this was going to work for us. Not by design, just how it happened. So then George starts cooking. Well, through George, in his regional code, okay, so George goes, now in George's regional code, a woman who got kicked out of her first presentation because she was so horrible, her name's Lisa Rhodes. She sure did. George, underneath the table, kept stepping on her feet. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, I don't like her, and I don't think she should sign up in this, so I just think maybe if I just like hit her foot enough when I cross my legs, maybe she'll leave. She was that bad. Do you know she's one of my best friends now? She's one of my favorite people in this business. What was coming across to us as antagonistic, she just wanted to know this was real. Because she had been a housewife for 29 years. She had never had an identity. She was known to the world as Lance and Rachel's mom. Her husband's a very successful orthopedic surgeon, and she wanted, for one time in her life, I did not know how depressed she was, that she just wandered around the house all day and had no purpose. So her grilling us with this stuff, she just wanted to know that this was real. You know what's really funny? She's now an executive sales manager. You want to know how to go national? I'm trying to show you. In the meantime, Dan over here started his regional code, talked to people here, 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 and then a guy named Chuck introduced me to a girl named Neela. She went executive. Isn't that crazy? Now this is starting to cook. We're getting things going in other places. But what happened with Lisa, now she's got things going. Now George is an executive, and the number 3 regional in the world is in his executive business named Christine Limoges. That woman is a machine. I never would have known her if I hadn't bothered to talk to blah, blah, blah in somebody's living room and making a trip that was painful and losing one night's worth of sleep. Doctors do it. Don't they work 24-hour shifts? Shoot, you can too. How many people in this room have ever had a baby? How many of you are married to people that have had a baby? You know what it's like not to sleep. Can you do it one time if it could bring you this?
By the way, there's 10,000 people in Woodson's business now through that one leg in 18 months.
I'm relentless because you know why? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the point that I really want you to grasp is Woodson created it. She didn't sign up somebody that did it. That's the difference here. You're not ever going to sign up somebody that brings you 10,000. You're going to sign up somebody who you're going to find the person you're really looking for. You're going to spend a year of your life investing time and wisdom into their mind that you've been developing and gaining. Then now, we were just in Florida, Woodson and I were this past week. They had a Super Saturday there where there were 500 people at it. And there were like 13 executive managers through that one leg now. So now that she has an asset in Florida, if she quit tomorrow, that business will still put 40,000 people in the next 24 months without her presence, because it took, but for 2 years she had to sink it. So that's the difference. Most, the truck driver kid showed you, the nurse, all those people, they sacrificed their entire life. And there's never an end date. It's that 30, 40, 50-year retirement that never shows up. Here, it's a total sacrifice for about 3, 4, 5 years, and boom. Depending on what you want to make, you can be done quicker than that. I mean, everything's relative, but to make an extra 15, 20,000 a month asset-wise, you can easily do that in 36, 48 months. The problem is when you get there, you realize there's no money and you're going to keep on working.
And here's what's really funny. Guys, I work this business like I'm the only one working. I don't take anything for granted. I don't take anything. I don't trust anybody for sticking around. Whatever. My whole thing, and don't you think I'm a cold-hearted person. I want this more for other people than they want it for themselves. But you come into my business, I look right through you. I look right through you for your benefit. Because for 2 reasons. If I can put a little egg in your nest, chances are you won't stick around long enough. Might put us on somebody to somebody to somebody to somebody that's going to rock this thing, and you will reap the rewards of it. Or you will not realize what you're really made of. And watching a caterpillar turn into a butterfly is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm addicted to this business because of that. And so I think it's just a challenge. It's just a big old chess game. I look at you and I see thousands of people I haven't met yet. My job is to get 1, 2, or 3 of them, just see how far we can go. That's all I see. That's all I do. That's all I do. Let me just show you another one. So all this is going on, okay? and you work it, okay? In the meantime, way back when, I talked to a guy named Ralph, who talked to a guy named Greg. This is all happening months and months and months, okay? These dead-end roads and whatever. Goes regional. He talks to a guy named Sean, talks to a girl, Louise, who talks to a guy named Shannon. Shannon Ringo. Half of this room's in his downline. Shannon Ringo. He works track security at South Boston Speedway, some other NASCAR tracks. He makes his way through this, just quiet as a church mouse. And one day, there's a rain delay, and I get a phone call. He goes, I'm going to get this in front of a guy named Ward. I said, I know who he is.
Yes.
Ward looks at it. I can help a lot of people. Ward goes executive in 90 days. Not only did that make me happy, what makes me the happiest is what I'm about to share with you. Ward put somebody, the first person in his regional code, named Dave Adkinson. We used to have meetings in his race shop. Great guy. Dave Adkinson had one of the most horrible things done to him. He went and shared his company with his employees. And then one of his employees caused a mutiny and stole his company away from him. And that's what took him out of the business. He loves this business. I actually talk to him every once in a while. I think we're going to be seeing him again. But in the meantime, Ward had also, back in the day, when he first got started, talked to someone named Richard. And Richard talked to a whole bunch of people. Richard made his way to regional. Richard's wife called Vicki. And that's when I met Judson and Vicki Daniel in Dave Adkinson's race shop. They drove to Moseley, Virginia to meet me. I've lived in Virginia most of my life. I didn't even know there was a Moseley. And I'm from a podunk town too. Judson and Vicki Daniel. It took them a while because I didn't know what was going on with the timing in their life. And we had some people and some things that were trying to maybe kind of keep us away from each other, whatever, but I always saw that spark, and I always talked to him. I was like, there's something there. And then we just reached out to each other and said, we're going to do this. I need to know you, and you need to know me better. Let's roll. And I remember the night that they asked me to come to Dave and Patty Wilson's house. Executive. Dave and Patty Wilson, two of my favorite people in the world, right? I'm telling y'all right now, better at this business than I would ever want to be. Monster organizations, but you know what? We went through all this, and there are offshoots everywhere, and we found this. In the meantime, my husband's at Z-Max Dragway. I want to go see some of my racing buddies. Oh, really? Well, I'm changing diapers, and I'm doing this, and I'm going to the grocery store, and I just came off the road, and whatever. He goes, trust me, baby. He goes, I'm going to the racetrack. He goes, I'm going to come back with something good. Clay is the best recruiter in this business. He's our secret weapon. I'm a horrible recruiter. I'm a good builder. Clay is a great recruiter. Nobody sees him coming. Hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah. He's awesome. People cannot. Clay is like Kramer. If y'all watch Seinfeld, it's like, what does that guy do? And he just loves life. He has these amazing stories. His whole life is an adventure. He falls backwards into piles of gold. It's the most dumbfounding thing you've ever seen. So he's walking around. He pulls up in a Range Rover. He's got his watch on. You know, he's always in his crazy clothes and his hair and whatever. And he goes to the racetrack. Guys, y'all don't know what a big deal he is. Kim and Jerry Glenn went to our race shop the other day. They had no idea. And then they walked around one corner and went, oh, my gosh. You know, and Clay's like, oh, yeah, well, that's pretty cool. You know, and he just went back to building whatever he was building. So he's at the racetrack, and he's talking to different people, and he runs into his buddy Vaughn. He and Vaughn Smith, 8-time world champion pro mod driver, one of the best drag racers ever in history. Do you know they raced flat track motorcycles way back when in motocross, when Clay's mom would drag a dirt bike out of the back of their station wagon when all these other kids' daddies had pickup trucks and flatbed trucks and whatever else? Clay's never done anything but race. Vaughn said, what are you doing? See, Clay retired from drag racing at 33. He won world championships. Vaughn said, what the heck are you doing? He goes, I'm loving life. And he goes, well, you always have. What are you doing? He goes, I'm having fun and making money. What are you doing? He goes, we need to talk. I'm about to lose my ride. And Clay said, well, I'll come by your house. He goes, I haven't seen you in 30 years. You're going to come by my house? He goes, yeah, I'll see you. And he left. I about choked the man when he came home. Clay says, honey, I'm going to take the kids. We're going to see Grandma Jackie. That's his mom. He's from Lenore City. I'm going to take the kids. We're going to see Grandma Jackie. I'm going to go see Vaughn's home. I said, you are? He goes, you just go down to Florida. We'll see you when you get home. Drops the kids off at Grandma Jackie's house. He goes to Vaughn Smith's house. He calls Vaughn because he knows Vaughn's there. Vaughn, what are you doing? Nothing. You at home? Yeah. Come out your front door. Vaughn Smith walks out the front door in sweatpants and white socks. There's Clay with a DVD player with about a 6-7 inch screen. He goes, you got to see this. Walks right past him into the living room. He goes, you can watch it on this or we can watch it on that. And Vaughn said, I want to watch it on that. He didn't even know what he was watching. Clay goes, fire it up. So here are two grown men, like they're getting ready to, see somebody wipe out on, stupid people do this stuff. And watch the DVD. Vaughn says, is that what you're doing? Clay goes, yeah. He goes, it's working for you, isn't it? He goes, like you wouldn't believe. He goes, I don't know what to do. He just gave him his wallet. Signed him up. Vaughn's wife comes home. Not a great thing. What is that and who is that? Oh, this is my buddy Clay that was, and racing this and that. He goes, oh, that guy you've told me about. See, the stories that he told her were probably not that great. Especially to a woman. Oh, you're the guy that has a different woman at every racetrack. And this and that and the other. Whatever, because Clay's led a pretty crazy life. And so Vaughn's like, no, honey, everything he touches turns to gold. We're doing this. We started going to their house on Thursdays, living room presentations. I'm trying to remember. We signed up Terry. We signed up Tracy. Everybody's names with T. Tyler and Amanda. Tyler and Amanda signed up Angela and Xavier. Oh, we got a real X. They and these people. Okay, this goes regional. This goes regional. This goes regional. Vaughn goes regional in 8 days. Bam. His credibility, boom. But then he had to go do the Middle East tour for 5 months. Gone. We had to rip through this as fast as we could. I knew he was getting on a plane. Here's what's so funny. Xavier and Amanda said, we're going to call one more person. This was 2 days before Christmas of December of 2010. What they didn't know and what y'all didn't know and what I'm telling you right now, I told Clay I'm giving this town 2 more weeks. With Vaughn gone, this is going to die. One person showed up on a sleety, rainy night, went to the wrong hotel, comes back and sees me. We've got the hotel room. Me and Clay and Xavier and Angela and 2 people sitting in chairs on the front row going, yeah, this is really a cool opportunity. Their names were Ed and Leslie Ford. Ed and Leslie Ford are now executive sales managers. Ed and Leslie Ford. Leslie, she's so funny. She, after her husband said, we're doing this, she goes, are we really doing this? Are you the good guy and I'm the bad guy now? See, they had a conversation in the car where they weren't going to do this. And Ed was like, we're totally doing this. She's like, oh, okay, so I'm not supposed to do. They're talking to each other like we can't hear them. They are talking, you know them. They're having this conversation. And Clay and I are like, they're half crazy. She's, it really happened that way. And Leslie said, do you have one of those DVDs like Xavier was trying to get us to watch? I went, yeah. Vaughn was coming back the next week. We were having a presentation at his house the following Friday. In my mind, Vaughn trumped Leslie. Leslie said, I'm just going to play the DVD for some of our friends. And then can we get you to do one of those like calls you're telling us about? I went, yeah. Nobody's going to show up over there. You know what happened? Nobody showed up here. One person who told me for 15 minutes that this wasn't going to work. Everybody else in the room were reps going, none of our people showed up. This doesn't work. We're quitting. We're out of here. This is crazy. Oh, I'm getting barraged with all this crap. In the meantime, Clay is on his cell phone. He goes outside. He comes back in. Plugs are getting ripped out of the wall. Things are getting thrown in bags. I thought one of the children's heads came off. I've never seen him like that before because I didn't know what was going on. He's like... I'm like, well, we gotta go. Okay. We get in the car. Leslie is on the phone in tears with Clay in her closet because 22 people showed up at their house. They didn't know what to do. People actually liked it. And I'm over here talking to this crap that isn't even in the business anymore. And you know what was funny who I met that night? That couple right there. Kim and Jerry Glenn. My favorite people on planet Earth right now. Didn't have time to do it. Worked 3 jobs. What I didn't know is she ran that real estate company during the day. He and their son owned a landscaping business that they ran all afternoon. Wasn't showing homes. She was running mowers with them because they were having to lay people off to keep things going. I knew what a real estate business was doing. And then they left Ed and Leslie Ford's house and cleaned office buildings all night till 4 o'clock in the morning because they owned a commercial cleaning service. So don't you ever let somebody tell you they don't have time. They did not have time. She put me on the witness stand in front of 22 people, and it was very unpleasant. She's mean.
She's exaggerating.
I am not. Jerry said, I want to do this. This is a good thing. Firefighter, paramedic. I want to do this. We're going to have fun with this. They come into the business. Kim and Jerry Glenn. See, did y'all see pointers? See how valuable they are? They are now executive. Kim and Jerry are executive. They're building their executive code. They get their BMW in 2 weeks. Did not see this business until December 29th. Nobody knew that their team wasn't duplicating. Nobody knew that they were out doing one-on-ones when no one was looking outside of the meetings. Nobody knew the phone calls they were making outside of the trainings and this and that. I never heard about it because they didn't complain to me. They never complained to anybody. They just said, we see it, we get it, we're doing it. They never relied on anybody. And that is why they're doing what they're doing. And then they introduced us to a guy named John King in their executive code, which is really cool. And another little kid, Billy Housewright, who drove a beer truck for a living, and the reason they met him is he called Craigslist because their son put it out on Craigslist to sell the mowing business because of how well this business was doing for them. And little Billy Housewright called him because he said, I want to try to get a loan to buy that business. And as they were walking back to the car after their meeting, Billy said, I hate what I do. What do? I drive a beer truck. Kim says, you're meeting me at the Hampton Inn at 7 o'clock. Billy got like scared because a married woman just said, you're meeting me at the Hampton Inn, and you know what you do. So he didn't know what to think. He's like, wow, she's kind of forward, you know. And so he shows up at the meeting with eyes this big and his wife, like he's hanging on to her. And I'm like, who's this little couple? The two of them are like, yes, because it was the first time someone they ever invited to a meeting showed up. The first time. He's getting ready to go executive. He already has doubled his regional code. He's already going on the trip with us to Tucson. He'll be the next executive. He was brought, I forget about this, he was brought in by Darren, who had spent 3 years in the mission field in Mexico and saw this as a way. They have 5 children under the age of 6. Put me in a straitjacket like yesterday. Okay. So they're going, so this is where I'm going, and I know that I went long, but I cannot drive this home to you. If you're not leading by example, why is your team going to do that? Todd said the most profound thing ever to me. I will not let my future hang. It's not my downline's responsibility. But what's so funny is if you work the business like that, you'll find people that think that way, but only if they're wise, big enough and strong enough to do it. See, people didn't know that how bad our backs were against the wall. People thought I was half-cocked crazy driving around all night long. What you don't understand is while Clay was protecting me from the fiasco going on inside of our house, while I wasn't there, I bet you those kids were twirling around on ceiling fans. But they love their daddy because, I mean, they're having fun. What he didn't know is me driving back all night with like toothpicks prying my eyes open. I didn't have the heart to call them and tell them nobody showed up, nobody signed up. I was always like, yeah, this is great. Because I couldn't let them down. I didn't tell them about the times that I would not pull into a rest stop, because there are some freaky people at rest stops. So I would find the biggest, most well-lit truck stop, and I never parked where the trucks were sleeping. I cannot tell you how humbling it is when you pull up somewhere at 2 or 3 in the morning. Prostitutes are in the parking lot over here. Truckers are saying all kinds of weird stuff. And you walk into a convenience store and all you're doing is you have to make 4 or 5 stops because you're looking for a woman working the night shift. And you back the car in beside the handicapped space by the front door. And you go in and you tell somebody, I'm trying to get home to Charlotte before the sun comes up. I'm dog tired. I need to take a nap. And all I'm asking, please do not let somebody come around my car, mess with me. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing anything wrong. Can you just give me that? And you know what she would do? She'd go, are those baby seats in the back? Yeah. She goes, honey, you come back in here, splash some water on your face, get a cup of coffee, and you just get on home. You do whatever you need. I'm not going to let anybody mess with you. See, y'all don't know that. That was my glamorous life. Woodson! Tear it up, Leroy's! Woo! You know, because I had to. That's what I was emotional about. I could give a rip if somebody called me because their broke brother-in-law said this was a scheme. They just failed my job interview. And you know what's funny? I do not want those people as business partners. But if they led me to somebody good, they served their purpose, God bless their heart. I don't wish anybody any harm. I just didn't waste any time on it. And if Clay knew that, what I just shared with you, he didn't know that until 1.5 years later, because I could not say that to him, because you know what he would have done? He would have freaked out, he would have done whatever he had to do, and he would have tried to take that on, and things just wouldn't have worked. But if he had told me what was going on at home and how scared he was, learning how to cook, burning his hands and trying to make macaroni and cheese, about setting half the house on fire, walking away from a pan because somebody else slipped and fell on this end of the house and another kid was screaming. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we just did it. So I'm just telling you guys, y'all can do it too. I know that wasn't pretty, but it's real. But who cares now? Because now it's fun. So this is pointing and retrieving. And now it was the greatest adventure of our lives. And look at what all these weird things did. They'll do it for you. They'll do it for you too. All right? So I'm sorry that took so long. I'm done.